introduce our names too.
Okay, we are now broadcasting. This is Team One's Servant Leadership Project. I'm Jerica.
I'm Carolyn.
I'm Tina.
And we did our project on, we worked with Habitat for Humanity for our project. So it is a organization in the community that helps build homes, and we'll talk about that more within our presentation. We do have a video, but it was hard to kind of add into the presentation, so we will email that to you, Dr. Joe. And we're going to go ahead and start with our presentation, and Carolyn's going to start with the history.
Okay, so the history about Habitat for Humanity, how it started was it was founded in 1976 by Mildred and Linda Fuller. The concept was found out of the I'm going to butcher this name. Kinawana Farms. It's a Christian community in Georgia. And they went there. While they were there, they developed the concept of partnership housing. The whole partnership housing was surrounded by providing adequate shelter for those in need. In 1973, the Fullers moved to Zaire and returned to the USA 3 years later to make this organization. And so pretty much Habitat for Humanity was started by two people wanting to make a difference.
Okay, so next is their mission. Their mission is that they seek to put God's love into action by bringing people together to help build homes, communities, and hopes for those in need. Their core value is Christianity and believing that everyone deserves a safe, affordable place to live. Their objectives are to build, renovate, and repair houses all over the world by the use of volunteer labor and donations, and advocate to increase access to affordable, decent homes around the world for those in need.
Okay, the social issues we addressed were for Habitat was like the homeless, finding them homes that they could qualify for, and giving them adequate housing so that way they no longer had to live in shelters or just a low presentable home. And also it also helped with the refugees and immigrants and other families that were on a low income scale and did not have the money to provide themselves a home on their own. The next slide we're going to talk about is what we have learned during our servant leadership.
So what we learned while we were there was compassion and serving our neighbors. We also learned a lot of listening skills. Definitely you want to have those listening skills because it's a lot of construction work, so you need to be aware of your surroundings and watch for safety hazards. Yeah, but also we need to be aware of those around us. So when we're moving equipment around, and we gotta say hey, heads up kind of thing, and make sure like everybody was aware. Also being not judgmental. Everybody was there to help, and it was very volunteer based, and it was cool to see everybody come and help out and build those houses for people. And knowing when to say, hey, let's try this, and give them options, and just helping step up and making those homes really great for those people.
Okay, so the next slide is the nature of our project. So it's Habitat for Humanity and building homes. So Habitat for Humanity builds homes, hopes, and a sense of community through God's love. The second thing is the homes that are built are shelter from the environment, and their influences put a roof over individuals' heads. And the third thing is they focus on building a safe and affordable shelter in the greater Des Moines area.
And then I think the next upcoming slides are we're each going to present our own experiences that we had at the homes. We each went 2 different times to help with Habitat for Humanity, and each one of us now are going to give in detail a little bit what we learned while we were on site.
Before we do that, the next slide talks about the qualifications for Habitat for Humanity, and those are that in order to apply, the family has to meet specific qualifications. So the family has to be below poverty level in order to apply for housing. They must complete 400 hours with Habitat for Humanity, and that involves building their own home, as well as building other homes for families that have been qualified to get a house built through Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity, and they also learn about money management through a course that helps them kind of better prepare to have their own home and how they're going to be able to pay their mortgage and all their other bills that they may have related to their living expenses. So Carolyn's going to go ahead and talk about her experience.
Okay, so while I was there, it was really interesting to see, and I really enjoyed it because I got to definitely do something outside of my box. We also worked along, or I worked along, and I know you guys did too, with others from other volunteer places from different communities. I know I volunteered with a lot of Wells Fargo people. It was cool that that community helped, or that organization helped had those their employees get to work at Habitat for Humanity and help out there. I also found out more about Habitat Humanity and what they did to help the community. They do a lot. Like, I wasn't really aware of all the the help that they do and the support that they do alongside besides just building homes. I also learned firsthand how Habitat for Humanity homes fulfill the needs of the community. They really help those individuals who really need those houses to get up and get their feet going, and help them with learning how to manage their money to afford these houses and do that. And also, I found out how Habitat for Humanity affects the families who receive the homes. They're all really grateful for the homes, and they're all really willing to work hard to learn how to provide for their families and all that. Lastly, I learned how to build various parts of the home and the amount of work it is to put in building those homes. I definitely was unaware with how much work and time it is to like build homes. I was always wondering, like, why can't it's not that hard. I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to just put up a house real quick, but it definitely is. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies that you got to deal with and get all those done and all those measurements perfect. And so, yeah, that was my experience. And then the next slide for me was my picture of one of the days I was in a winter warrior, and we got these shirts because it was really cold and rainy, wet out, and yeah, it was snowing and sleeting that day, so it was kind of fun. And then the next slide was the next day that I went, or the next picture was the next day I went, and that's some of the trim that we did. But yeah, and then Jerica's the next slide about her experience.
Okay, so for my experience, I think the biggest thing is I got to really learn about the needs of our community. I didn't realize how many people and families are in need of a nice, affordable, adequate housing. So first thing I learned is how to serve those in my community. So that was really big to really know, like, what are the needs for my community so that I am able to help them in the future as a servant leader. I also learned the basic skills of how to build houses, which was really nice because I had no experience with building homes. I mean, my dad like built our garage and like stuff like that, and I've observed it, but I never had to do it myself physically. So by doing this project, I have learned those basic skills that I hope that I can use in the future for maybe other people, maybe in my community or the neighborhood I end up living in, to better help them and just kind of show off those skills to other people. So I also had the opportunity to speak to one of the families I served. They kind of just told me some background about who they were, where they came from. It was a African family of, I think, 3 or 4, and they had come here because they wanted to kind of start a new life, and they heard about Habitat for Humanity and decided to apply for it because they were tired of the they lived obviously below the poverty line, and they were tired of living in poor housing, and they wanted to find better homes for their family to start kind of their new life. I got to ask a lot of questions about Habitat for Humanity so I can better understand the organization as a whole and kind of what they do. And that's kind of what I learned about. They have also like the Restore project, and then they also have another thing where they go out into the community and they kind of like fix people's homes. Like if they're having some issues, they'll go to the home and like actually fix it for them and show them how they can go about fixing it themselves next time, maybe if it breaks. So I thought that was pretty neat that they have other opportunities out there to help and serve those in the community besides just building homes, but also a lot of their funding comes from the restore. So people donate stuff that they don't want anymore to the restore, and then what happens is they use that money to help build homes alongside. I think there's other ways that they are able to fund the organization. So I thought that's pretty neat. And most of all, I got to meet a lot of new people. There was people that were volunteering from all sorts of places. The one day I went, I think there were some students from Iowa State that came to volunteer. So it was really nice to see that people could come together that didn't even know each other to help build a home for families, which I thought was really nice. We all worked together. I think it kind of just allowed us to see that, the main and big picture is that we are helping other people that are in need. So overall, I really loved my experience. The next slide, I just kind of put in some pictures of what I did. I got to learn how to cut wood, or saw wood, I guess I should say. So that was kind of scary for me. I never had to work with like big tools like that. So it was really nice to learn how to do that. And another day we put up trim. So that was pretty crazy, kind of overwhelming and all over the place. Carolyn was there with me that day, but we got it figured out. So overall, I really enjoyed my experience and I really had fun. So next is Tina, and she's going to talk about her experience.
So the 2 days that I attended Habitat for Humanity, I've learned a lot too, just as Jerica and Carolyn have said. The first day I went to a home that was a home that the city had already bought, and then they donated it to Habitat for Humanity. And during that time, I worked with several people that had been volunteering with Habitat in the Des Moines area for about 5 years. So I learned a lot from them and the experiences that they were having with the homes that they had built for the people. And during that visit, also, one gentleman was actually volunteering his hours to go toward the home that he was going to receive one day. I learned during that experience that it was going to take him roughly about 1.5 years to complete his 400 hours before he would actually get his home. So during that first day, I learned how a family qualifies for qualifications for a home. And then also, I learned a lot about the Habitat for Humanity. When I first started, I really kind of thought that some of these individuals were giving just a home at a discounted price, but I didn't realize they had to actually give back to the community and help also other families with their homes that are being built. So it was actually pretty amazing to see what, not only do these people get a home or a place to call their home, but they also help other individuals that are in need. So it's kind of everybody helping each other, and which I thought was pretty amazing. I also learned how to do home repairs. Came home and told my husband I can now hang doors. He doesn't trust me still though. So the first home that we did, we hung doors, did trim, and then the second home I worked with a bunch of students from Drake, and that was actually a home that was already part of Habitat for Humanity. A family had lived there, and all of a sudden they had a death in their family, and they actually sold or gave their house back to Habitat for Humanity so that they could move and just kind of not be in that situation anymore. So we repainted, we removed carpet, we took down light fixtures and blinds. So it was pretty amazing to see how nice the house was to begin with, but because somebody else was getting the house, they completely, basically, we gutted the house to start all over, so it got fresh paint, new carpet was coming in, and so it was pretty amazing to see what was all going to transform to a new person's home. I think, it was really touching, and what I learned most about is just a little bit of time that I did give back to the community. So many more people were going to benefit from that, and I thought that, I sometimes take for granted things that go on in my life, and I didn't realize how many times people do struggle just to make it. And so these families with these little kids were actually going to have a place to call home, and they were going to make the memories that I've made in my home with my kids. So it's actually a pretty touching class that I've taken, and I really learned a lot just from actually those few hours that I did put in both days at Habitat. And so the next slide just shows some pictures of the people that were there the few days that I was there, of us hanging doors and painting. I received the same shirt that Carolyn has, but hers looks like in better condition than mine, because when we were done painting, it was full of paint. So it's kind of speckled with many colors of paint, but it actually now has a lot of meaning to me. So, and then the next slide, we're going to talk about assessment and analyze what we've all learned.
Okay, so our objectives at the beginning of the semester, we met all of them. We all discussed this together on previous times, and we felt like we all met them. But our objectives were the student will see the impact of serving their local community through Habitat of Humanity by salvaging material from deconstruction and repair of houses in order to restore them for the greater needs by the end of the semester. The next one was the student will participate in Habitat for Humanity to help construct and repair buildings and homes in the Des Moines area to serve those in need by the end of the semester. And the last one was the student will assume the leadership role in completing project through Habitat for Humanity by the end of the semester. I felt like we all discussed this, but we felt that we completed each of these by, I don't know, becoming a leader and learning how to serve others, and also learning how like it helps and benefits the people who need these houses and what we can do to help them in the future. Also by like the salvaging materials to like house, she was able to, all those new materials are going to come into the house, all those old materials are people can go and buy at that restore, which is pretty awesome to see, because it's never like just thrown away. It's always something, and they always can reuse it. They always can redo something with everything. The next slide, Jerica is going to talk about some more analysis and assessments.
So the servant leadership key concepts meant were that we serve the community around us by being a part of the Habitat for Humanity organization and volunteering, becoming a leader through our volunteering services, just kind of meeting the new people and getting involved and doing our part in serving our community and learning to communicate with those in need. So our Mercy Corps values we felt that we met all of them. So starting with knowledge, I feel like we all learned what it really means to be a servant leader, how we can now find other ways to help those in the community, and just kind of those basic construction skills that we can also use for ourselves and those maybe around us in the near future who may have some things that need to be repaired. We can now help those people who may be in need. For reference, we just overall we respected everyone that we did serve by just not being judgmental and just kind of doing our part and really just getting to know, for most of us, the families that we were serving, and just kind of having a better understanding of who they are and why they chose to go through the organization. Overall, we were honest, sincere, and trustworthy in what we did, and that's showing our integrity. We were compassionate about what we were doing, because I think overall we really learned, like I said, what it really means to be a servant leader, and just understanding, you know, what this really means to those families. Like, this means that they have now some adequate housing that they can now live in. They don't have to live in poor housing anymore. They have a house that they can call home for them and their family as well. Our excellence is just doing our part as a servant leader, which means we went out to the community, we served these people, we did our part by giving back, by just volunteering, and hopefully in the near future we can continue that excellence by continuing to volunteer, whether it's for Habitat for Humanity or through various organizations in our community, to do our part as a servant leader. So next, Tina will talk about some directions for maybe future work for this course that can be used.
So in this, as Jerica and Carolyn have both stated, the opportunity is to continue to be able to maybe volunteer into the Restore as part of our leadership project. Since all three of us volunteered to build homes, we also got to learn about the Restore. So future work would possibly be able to give back and work in the Restore, so that we can learn the aspects of seeing all that equipment that can come in and be sold back to the community and make money for Habitat. The other thing is just continuing to have that volunteer class that represents Mercy College as what we all are learning as students and what we can give back to our community, and for us to build those friendships within our class and for us to all learn together what it is to be a servant leader. So I think as we continue to learn as a class and build our friendships within our class and finding out all the extra services that are out there, such as when we were on the River Bend tour, we all learned about the other volunteer organizations that are out there that we could give back to. So future direction for our work is it would be basically to continue to give back to our communities throughout the services that would have been offered, and also work together as teams as we have, us three have did so well together during this project, to continue to give back and continue to learn about each other, about what each one of us can give to make us better people.
Okay, so that is pretty much the end of our presentation on Habitat for Humanity. Overall, I think we both enjoyed, or we all enjoyed our experience volunteering for this organization. And I know for me personally, I'm hoping to go back in the near future to continue to volunteer. So that's pretty much it for our presentation. And I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but I think this is it. Does that sound good, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is it. I'm going to go ahead and stop broadcasting, and I'll turn this in to Dr. Joe for us.
Okay. Thanks, Jerica.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jerica.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.